Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and all those who have joined us today from government agencies, nonprofit leadership, Frederick's business community, and beyond, we want to welcome each and every one of you. I'm Guy Sampson. I'm the Chief of Staff to the Mayor of the City of Frederick, and alongside me is Erica Robar, Assistant Director of Human Services for the City's Department of Housing and Human Services. Together, we are leading the charge for the City of Frederick's Good Jobs, Great Cities initiative. Thank you. As many of you all know, I often tell people my family's been here for 200 years, but there's people who were here before them. And we would be remiss if we did not begin today in recognition of yesterday's Indigenous People Day, by acknowledging and paying respect to the Susquehannock, Piscataway, and Tuscarora Indigenous people who have stewarded this land for generations. We thank them for their strength and resilience in protecting this land and aspire to uphold our responsibilities according to their example. Additionally, we would like to acknowledge the elected officials who have joined us this morning, starting with our Board of Aldermen, Alderwoman Donna Kazimchek, Alderman Kelly Russell, County Council President Brad Young, also our state delegation, Delegate Ken Kerr, as well as Karen Simpson's Chief of Staff, Elizabeth Bobo.
It is such a pleasure to see this diverse and enthusiastic gathering here today. We are excited to be your host for this significant event, and today we have convened all of those who play a vital role in developing the workforce that serves not just the City of Frederick, but the county, the state of Maryland, and our entire region. As the saying goes, it truly does take a village to accomplish this crucial work. We are thrilled about our city's participation in this academy and the extraordinary opportunity that it presents to move the needle in workforce development. At this time, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated staff and community partners who have worked tirelessly to make this event possible. Together, we aim to be regional leaders, spearheading innovative and creative solutions to the challenges that our workforce is facing today. Our application for this academy reflects our recognition of the City of Frederick's pivotal role in creating opportunities and nurturing a workforce that serves our residents. We firmly believe that our city thrives when we work collaboratively, support each other, and we dare to dream big.
So welcome, everyone, to the City of Frederick's Good Jobs, Great Cities Academy Kickoff. Now, we're extremely excited to pass the baton to our esteemed colleagues from the National League of Cities and the United States Department of Labor, Mike Bartlett, Nestle Silva, and Britt Stitch. They have been instrumental in shaping the academy and will provide valuable insight on the exciting journey ahead. If we can welcome you all to the stage.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? We are thrilled to be here. My name is Brittany Stitch. I'm a senior advisor here at the Department of Labor. And on behalf of my voice today. On behalf of our acting secretary, we extend our huge gratitude for all of you and the work that you all are already doing in the community of Frederick. You're gonna hear a lot today about the historic opportunity of the investments that are coming into our communities, about the historic opportunity to create pathways to good jobs in communities across the country. And that is why we're here today. Our acting secretary often talks a lot about infrastructure. We think of roads and bridges, and today we're talking about connecting workers to good jobs as really being the workforce infrastructure. Those incredible training programs that you're doing at your place of work, that you're doing with community colleges, that you're doing in Job Corps. This really matters, and we are thrilled about the opportunity here as a Good Job, Great Cities city here in Frederick. But first, a huge thank you to Mayor O'Connor, to the entire Frederick team. This is a very high bar. This is our first site visit like this, and y'all are blowing us away. It's not a competition, but we are very impressed and grateful for the entire team for all of their work to make this happen. And so with this, I'm going to turn it over to Neslie.
Thank you so much, Britt. Hi, everyone. My name is Neslie Silva. I'm serving as the Acting Director for Intergovernmental Affairs, so the primary liaison for all of our state, local, elected, tribal, and territory elected officials. I just wanted to reiterate what Britt said. We are very, very grateful for NLC, especially the Frederick team, for pulling together such a wonderful convening. I'm so excited to get into the content today and to reiterate a special thanks to Mayor O'Connor as well for his leadership, and I'm just looking forward to and thrilled to connecting with all of you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike to kick it off.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Bartlett, and I'm the Program Director for Post-Secondary and Workforce Success at the National League of Cities. Of course, I live in D.C., which means we compete to see who can have the longest job titles, and I've been doing pretty good lately. For those of you who might not be familiar, the National League of Cities is the voice of America's 19,000 cities, towns, and villages. We did count. There are many. But in my role, I serve in support of great cities like yourselves and thinking about how do we connect people in our communities to good jobs? How do we promote economic mobility and ensure people have the opportunity to live that American dream? So thank you again to Mayor Connor, to Guyon, to Erica, and the full team who has pulled this event together. We're really excited. So I'm just going to briefly do a little bit of framing to say kind of why we're here and what we're trying to accomplish, and then we'll turn it back over to Team Frederick to talk about their plan, your all's plans, and get input from everybody here today on that. So as was mentioned, we know there have been historic investments in infrastructure, in technology, in many other sectors as a result of recent federal investments. The latest studies coming out this year have said that this is going to create probably about 3 million new jobs a year in the country. But we know that this is facing some challenges. For example, we know already based on our research at the National League of Cities that infrastructure jobs take about 20% longer to fill than non-infrastructure jobs. And at the same time, we know that nearly 2 million workers already in the infrastructure sector are set to retire or leave the sector every year for the next decade. If you can do some quick math, that's almost 5 million jobs we need to fill every single year in this sector in the country. At the same time, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is estimating that labor force participation is going to continue to decline over the next decade, falling to 60.2% here. At the same time, we know that as a result of the pandemic, as many as 6 million youth, 15% of all youth in America, have become disconnected from work or disconnected from education, not working, not engaging in education. And at the same time, even though we know unemployment rates are at historic lows, when surveyed, when you ask Americans, most of them will tell you they don't think they have a good job and they don't think that a better job is within their reach. But we also know that infrastructure jobs present a great opportunity. Many of those jobs are available to workers who don't have a 4-year degree, and compared to many other jobs at that educational attainment level, they have higher wages and better job quality features. So we know more Americans need better jobs, and we have a tremendous number of jobs available that are good for people. So the real trick is figuring out how do we match that supply with that demand? How do we find these folks and connect them to these opportunities? At the National League of Cities, we saw this coming. We have seen it coming for many years. And we knew that, just as was said earlier, we have to pay attention to the human capital needs to build physical infrastructure. And to tackle these challenges head on, we at NLC partnered with the Department of Labor to launch Good Jobs, Great Cities, which is a new national initiative that is focused on showing how cities can lead this transformation, connect people to good jobs in these critical infrastructure occupations. It's a year-long intensive effort where we're kind of on the ground with you all doing this work and identifying how can we connect people to good jobs, and I'll talk a little bit about our framework. Frederick was one of 16 cities selected for this academy. This was, in my years here in DC, this was probably the most competitive selection process we did, so congratulations again to the city for being selected for this. You're in very good company with countries from all across the city, and you'll be glad to know they face many of the same challenges that we're talking about today. So congratulations. I want to talk a little bit about our framework. So what are the things that we're talking about? What do we think are some of the solutions to connecting people to good jobs? We've asked all of the cities working through this academy to go through kind of a 4-step process. First, you have to understand your local economy. Where are those infrastructure job opportunities? What investments are coming to your community through new federal investments and private sector investments? Where are those jobs? How are you engaging employers and thinking about what's coming down the pike in terms of the skills they need? Second, you need to think about what are those evidence-based strategies we know can connect people to good jobs, whether it's career and technical education, a registered apprenticeship, on-the-job training, anything that's getting people connected to work in different ways. What's your strategy? Next, we know that connecting, it's not just about physical infrastructure, but about that human infrastructure, about the care infrastructure. Gallup did a national survey of folks who changed jobs during the pandemic, and they asked folks, why did you change jobs? The top 3 reasons were pay, but very close behind was I don't feel respected at work, and 3 was childcare. We know that childcare, for example, is one of the greatest barriers to more people engaging in the labor market and for people staying with employers. So we're asking cities to really think about how are we making sure people have the care they need to get to work. I have a 2-year-old. I very much understand that. And then finally, it's really asking the question, for whom are these opportunities? Thinking about how are we prioritizing particular geographies or communities within our neighborhoods, whether that is folks who are coming back from the reentering citizens from the criminal justice system, whether that is youth, whether it is communities of color, whether it's women and connecting them to the labor force, thinking about for whom are we trying to create opportunities. So these are and again, we have 2 overriding principles, job quality and equity, and that means more than just pay, but it's thinking about what makes a good job and how do we be more attractive employers in general. Here are the things we're providing to all of the cities here. I won't spend too much time here, but we're connecting them to national examples of resources and best practices. The Department of Labor has been a tremendous partner with us, bringing together all of their expertise and resources and connecting it to cities on the ground doing the work. I think one of the best things we do is sit peers from cities together to talk about their problems. We had a national kickoff meeting in DC where mayors and teams from these cities came together, learning from each other, sharing their ideas, and you'll see that reflected here today. And of course, I work for NLC. We want to brag on you. We want to showcase the great work that you're doing, and we're going to continue to do that. So if you all will indulge me, I think we're going to have a brief video where you can hear some leaders from other cities talking about what they're trying to achieve through this academy. So we will go to the video.
Most people who run for mayor do that because they want to improve the lives of people in their communities. We are seeing unprecedented funding coming from the federal government for us to do things that we haven't been able to do for decades. We have this once-in-a-generational opportunity to really change the trajectory of all of our cities. Good Jobs, Great Cities is the best way to do that.
There are really 2 types of mayors in the United States. The mayors who understand that workforce development is the most important thing they're doing, and the ones who have yet to realize that workforce development is the most important thing they're doing. Because if you really have a long-term strategic focus on how to fix your city, it always comes back to that, to creating wealth and creating opportunity and closing gaps in the community.
One of the biggest things I love about having a close partnership with the National League of Cities and being part of the Good Jobs, Great Cities program is there's no monopoly on good ideas. Being able to learn from our counterparts all across the country is going to help me and the team bring back additional ideas to our city government, as well as a lot of our academic institutions and the companies that we partner with each and every day. Women, veterans, our reentry population, our opportunity youth are going to benefit tremendously from this partnership. I tell people all the time that I think when you're the mayor, you're in the future business. We're all trying to set up the community to be a better place over that next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
What we're struggling with in the city of Duluth when it relates to workforce is we need more workers. And some of it is really what I consider workforce adjacent life experiences: solid childcare, affordable housing, reliable public transportation, and infrastructure. They're all in our wheelhouse, and at the same time, they're not all things that we control. And so the work with National League of Cities, with Good Jobs, Great Cities, is really about how do we bring all of this together? We don't have time, we don't have extra staff to experiment with. We have to innovate while working and doing. And the concrete application of this academy means that somebody can be connected into a pathway of economic independence. Creating good jobs is what we do when we want to take care of each other. It's what we do when we want to be sustainable as a community. And it's what we all want for the people in our lives. We want people to feel like they have opportunities for good work, making a difference in their community, and living with dignity and respect.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I very much look forward to getting to know all of you as we go through this academy. Our door is always open here at NLC. We're here to support you in this work. You're going to hear more from me later as we go through some of our exercises to get all of your ideas on the table. So thank you, and I'm going to hand it back over to the Frederick team. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mike, Neslie, and Britt. Now we want to share with you all where the city has come from and our current work in the Good Jobs, Great Cities Academy. I want to also thank our other members of our core team who applied with us and who is doing the work with us. Richard Griffin, our Director of Economic Development. Raminta Cottrell, our Director of Housing and Human Services. Alan, who's running around here somewhere. Alan Etzer, the Manager of Communications. Rebecca DeSantis Rantle, our Manager of Equity and Inclusion. Clara Jackson, our Legislative Assistant. She's here also. Ashley Waters in the Housing and Human Services Department. And last but certainly not least, Kat Vasiri and Aushman Family Foundation. There she is. So Erica and I want to take a little bit of time to go over where we are and what we're doing. So you're probably wondering why and how we got here. Well, in March of 2023, the National League of Cities had a conference in DC, and at the conference, they announced this initiative. And I was sitting in the audience all the way in the back, and I wrote an email to Richard and Raminta and the mayor, and I was like, we got to apply for this. And so the thing about this application was, it was a tight timeline. So we got it the end of March, it was due the end of April. And so we, with our federal grants consultant and our team that I just named, got together and we put together a very competitive application. And the reason why we believe it was so competitive is because we knew what our partners in the community were doing. And so we put all that information together and we applied. And in May, we found out we were selected. And so since that time, we have been very active in what we're doing. You see here, there's a little bit of our project timeline, but we went to in-person meeting at the Department of Labor, as Mike talked a little bit about, in July, and since that time, we have met with them monthly. We also have met with our core team and our partners here in the city of Frederick every other week. In addition to that, we attended a couple other things that National League of Cities doing. One of them was the Municipal Reentry Leaders Network. So essentially about how do we bring reentry, and Tony writes here from National League of Cities, how do we bring reentry into the city? In addition to that, we went to Philadelphia and we went to the Employment Training Administration Division for, it's the Department of Labor. We went there and the mayor gave a speech talking about what we're doing in Frederick in terms of developing our workforce here. And we will continue to do some work, and today is our first day where we're kicking it off, and then in the fall we will be going to the National League of Cities City Summit to discuss further about our workforce development. And our project ends in the end of July. Oh, this is my part, see, this is why you're supposed to practice on these things here. Our target group is emerging adults who are between the age of 14 and 24. And so we are working with our partners to how do we engage this community and how do we make sure that we're getting things for them. In addition to that, we want to create a pipeline, which is why you'll see from our panel today why it was important for all of them to be there, because we want to see how we create this, we leverage our relationships and bring this pipeline so that we can have the emerging adults going the way they want to go. And then in the end, as I said, the academy ends in July. However, the work continues after that. And so this is just a jump off to where we want to go in the future.
So at the end of the NLC presentation, you saw this great orange and pink picture that we did when we were in DC. Richard Griffin is our beautiful artist who put that together. When we got back from DC, we wanted to put that into a visual aid that we could use to kind of guide the work that we're doing. So this is that representation of the pipeline that Guyan was discussing. And we recognize that there is already a pipeline that exists in Frederick, but the city wants to be a part of it. We want to find gaps, fill those gaps, be a part of the conversation, be at the table and continue to bring more people to that conversation. So you'll kind of see this overarching goal. We have some of our main partners, the technical assistants from the Department of Labor, the National League of Cities, our Frederick County partners and programs that they're currently running in this sphere. Our community-facing partners would be our care economy, so the economy that really supports our workers, childcare, adult daycare centers, things that might keep your employees from being able to go to work. Our nonprofit partners, Frederick County Public Schools, has been absolutely invaluable in this work so far. Higher education, we recognize that when it comes to opportunity youth or those emerging adults, higher education is a part of some of those individuals' plans, and it's also not a part of other individuals' plans, but that doesn't mean they should be excluded from the conversation. They have so much to offer, and that is an end goal for some of our pipeline attendees. So for the Frederick Youth Collaborative the 12 to 24 Collaborative is also what we're calling it. It's the umbrella kind of overarching theme of what we're working on today. There's a couple of work group members and leaders in the audience, so welcome. This Good Jobs, Great Cities work group is a part of it. We have a youth council we're standing up. We're doing service mapping. We're using data in new and exciting ways to really make this a part of a larger movement in Frederick County. Our sustainable jobs, the outcome, the good jobs, which you guys will hear us talk a lot about today, not better, good from the beginning, they are good jobs when you first get them, are going to be in these areas. The green industries, they're going to be told to us by employers, how can we help have the conversation, bring employers to the table. Our apprenticeship programs, which is alive and well in Frederick County, how can we continue to be a part of that conversation? Reentry and reengagement, which Guyan mentioned, and finally, our city and county government, that's where the good jobs are in our community, so how do we engage them throughout this entire process?
And also, because you know you can't do anything alone, we want to make sure that we give a round of applause to our partners who are listed here on this slide here, because they are working with us to get things done. So thank you all.
And with that, on to the business of today. In order to facilitate maximum productivity, we want to provide an outline of how our day is going to move forward and unfold. First, Mayor Michael O'Connor will kickstart our event with his vision for workforce development in the city of Frederick. Next, we will have the privilege of welcoming Maryland Secretary of Labor Portia Wu, whose expertise in workforce development is renowned. Secretary Wu's vision for statewide workforce development will shed light on our collective path forward.
Following these addresses, we will transition to a panel discussion moderated by Mayor O'Connor. The panel features leadership from our key partners involved in this effort. Maryland Secretary of Labor, Portia Wu, County Executive Jessica Fitzwater, Frederick Community College President Dr. Anissa Payne-Cheek, Frederick County Public School Superintendent Dr. Cheryl Dyson, and Frederick Health President and CEO Tom Kleinhansel. This panel highlights the value of partnerships in crafting our workforce of the future, as collaboration among these leaders is vital for our success. After the panel discussion, we will break into smaller groups for roundtable discussions on various topics assigned to each attendee. During these interactive sessions, you will participate in 2 half-hour discussions sharing your expertise and insights.
So it's time for us to put you guys to work. Each of you in attendance as partners and providers play an integral role in ensuring the success of the city's participation in the Good Jobs, Great Cities Academy. By the end of this hour-long session, our goal is to compile a list of action items. With the collective brain trust in this room and the support of our dedicated facilitators, we are confident in our ability to accomplish just that. So please, let's give a warm welcome to Mayor Michael O'Connor as he takes the stage and sets the tone for our day of meaningful discussions and collaborations. Thank you.
Point of clarification, Guy, you want me to go faster or you want me to go slower? Slower. Nobody's ever told me to go slower before. Well, good morning, and thank you all for joining us today for this vital discussion on workforce development. I am thrilled to be in this room with all of these amazing people who want to be a part of this Good Jobs, Great Cities convening. Our participation in this academy, as you have heard, is a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation opportunity for Frederick that we are eager to embrace to move our city forward. As mayor, workforce development is not just a priority, it is the heart of our mission, and it's at the core of our strategic plan, Community 2030. With over 600 full-time, 300 part-time employees in the city of Frederick, we are a major employer, committed to being a competitive employer of choice, and as importantly, beyond our organization, we're dedicated to developing the strongest and most resilient workforce imaginable in our community, one that is sustaining and to the benefit of all. Being a convener of this discussion that will take place today is to accept our responsibility to prioritize workforce development, a unique role that local government must play. And I'll pause here for a moment and just break script, hold the teleprompter. The staff that has worked so hard to pull this together today really deserve our utmost appreciation. Can we give them all a round of applause? I am enormously proud of the team that I get to work with every day in the city of Frederick because, frankly, they make me and the city look good. So, thank you. Today is not just the start of a program. It's the beginning of a transformative journey. It's about seizing the opportunities that lie ahead, harnessing the power of partnership, and collectively working towards a better, more inclusive future for every person who calls Frederick home. And when we don't care about who gets the credit or the attention, it's about something equally great: opportunity. Opportunity has been a long-cherished fundamental American ideal deeply ingrained in the fabric of our nation's identity. It's a principle that has inspired generations and driven the American dream. In this land of opportunity, people from all walks of life, from all over the world, have sought the chance to rise above their circumstances, to realize their full potential, and to achieve their aspirations. From the pioneers who ventured westward in search of new beginnings to the immigrants who crossed oceans seeking a brighter future, the promise of opportunity has been our beacon of hope. It is the belief that hard work, determination, and innovation can open doors to a better life. It's the notion that every citizen, regardless of background, should have an equal shot at success and prosperity. Throughout our history, we've seen countless stories of individuals who've seized the opportunity and transformed their lives. They've started businesses, invented groundbreaking technologies, led movements that have shaped the course of our nation. And it is the history of Frederick. Opportunity has not only fueled individual success, but it has driven our collective progress and our economic advancements as we continually strive to build a more equitable and inclusive society. Yet opportunity has not been equally accessible to everyone. Barriers exist, whether they're based on race, socioeconomics, different abilities, and other factors. Our ongoing commitment must be to break down these barriers and ensure that the promise of opportunity is available to all. I know that everyone in this room shares this common thread. We want to inform this transformation, and what Good Jobs, Great Cities success will do is afford our community the opportunity to change people's lives, to uplift our neighbors, and to make a lasting impact on the people who live and work in our community to help them thrive. This academy represents a chance for unprecedented investment in our community, an investment that will strengthen our workforce, our families, and our people. So let's seize this opportunity to be bold, to dream big, and to innovate untethered. We are honored to have so many of our partners in this room today as the cornerstones of our vision. The power of collaboration will define the Good Jobs, Great Cities Academy. The power of collaboration has already defined what is great about the community of Frederick. And there are 4 primary strategies that we've highlighted. Apprenticeships. The City of Frederick is already registered for the State of Maryland's Youth Apprenticeship Program, offering high school students pathways to meaningful careers. But we won't stop at providing apprenticeships. We are determined to find ways to turn these opportunities into fulfilling careers within the City of Frederick. Fair wages. Our organization takes pride in our commitment to equitable compensation, as evidenced by our fiscal 2022 budget, which included a minimum wage of more than $21 an hour for all full-time employees in the City of Frederick. Fair wages not only empower our workers, but also fuel our community's economic growth. Emerging adults age 14 to 24. As part of our involvement in the Good Jobs, Great Cities initiative, we are actively working alongside our partners to bring a youth center to the City of Frederick. This center will serve as a crucial resource, offering programs geared towards equipping them with the skills necessary for the jobs of the future. Our commitment to this endeavor is rooted in our desire to empower our youth and ensure their readiness for the evolving job landscape. Creating career opportunities for these individuals is a strategic investment in our future. These young people are the next generation of workers, innovators, and leaders. By offering them meaningful employment and career development opportunities today, we are equipping them with the skills, the knowledge, and the experiences necessary to thrive in the workplace that is coming, and in many industries may have already arrived. This investment is not just about benefiting those young individuals. When we provide opportunities for our emerging adults to engage in productive work, we reduce the risk of unemployment and underemployment. It contributes to lowering our crime rate, higher educational attainment, improved economic stability, and increased social cohesion. Moreover, young people bring fresh perspectives, creativity, and a willingness to embrace new technologies and ideas. By engaging them early in their careers, we tap into their potential to drive innovation and contribute to our community's growth. Creating career opportunities for our youth ensures a more robust and dynamic workforce. It addresses the skills gap and positions our city for economic competitiveness. It's an investment that pays dividends not just today, but for generations to come. And fourth, reentry. Offering a chance to those who have made past mistakes, have paid their debt to society, and are striving for success in an increasingly challenging world is both smart for business and a moral imperative. This effort recognizes that the successful reintegration of previously incarcerated individuals benefits us all. When we provide opportunities to those seeking to rebuild their lives, we are offering hope and a pathway to redemption. By helping them gain employment and stability, we reduce the likelihood of recidivism, the likelihood of making our cities safer and more secure, and furthermore, supporting reentry aligns with the principles of fairness and equity. It ensures that every resident, regardless of circumstance, has an opportunity to contribute positively to our society and our economy. It strengthens the social fabric by supporting families and reducing the strain on social services. It enables individuals to become productive, tax-paying citizens, which in turn enhances the economic vitality of our city. Essentially, our reentry program embodies the American value of the second chance. I hope that it's clear that workforce development is about more than creating jobs. We must also address critical workforce adjacent challenges that impact the lives of our residents, challenges like transportation, childcare, and housing. Transportation is the lifeline that connects individuals to employment opportunities. A reliable and efficient transportation system ensures that our workforce can access jobs, training, and educational resources. By creating a more walkable and bicycle-friendly community and working collaboratively with our partners at Transit, we ensure that transportation becomes an enabler rather than a barrier to success. Childcare is a fundamental support system for working parents, especially those with young children. Affordable and accessible childcare empowers parents to maintain employment and pursue career growth. It allows them to focus on their jobs with peace of mind, knowing their children are in a nurturing and supportive environment. Addressing childcare affordability is an essential aspect of competitive workforce and comprehensive workforce development. And housing plays a pivotal role as well. Access to safe and diverse housing options accessible to employment centers is a cornerstone of stability. It attracts talent and reduces commute times and stress for our workforce. By addressing our housing challenges, we ensure that individuals and families have the foundations they need to succeed in their careers. These workforce-adjacent challenges are interconnected, and tackling them collectively with the people in this room and so many others we must include is essential for a strong and resilient workforce. It's about creating an environment where every worker can thrive, where the road to opportunity is clear of obstacles, and where families have the supports they need to succeed. Together, I know that we can meet these big challenges. With our dedicated partners, we will create opportunities, nurture a skilled workforce, and address the critical challenges that stand in the way of progress. Thank you for your commitment to our community and our shared vision of prosperity and opportunity for all. I am now honored to welcome to the stage our Maryland Secretary of Labor, Portia Wu.
Down. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here on behalf of Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller and the whole Moore and Miller administration. I am so excited to be here with you in Frederick to launch this important initiative and academy. First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the city for including me and the Maryland Department of Labor in this morning's discussions. I'm not going to try to thank everyone in this room because I know this is about partnership and everyone here has a really important voice, but I do want to say it's wonderful to see you, County Executive Fitzwater. I love being in Frederick County. I was actually here last week as well. I'm always here in Frederick, and also thank you to delegates, city council members, staff, and of course to partners at the U.S. Department of Labor and the National League of Cities. I do want to just correct something that I think maybe the department said. They said it's not a competition. If you've met Governor Moore, you know that's not the way we think about it here in Maryland. It is a competition. And Frederick and Maryland are determined to be at the top of that list. You know, in the mayor's remarks, I heard some of these key themes. Excellence, of course, is top of that, but also equity, opportunity, community. That's what today's initiatives and discussions are about, and about establishing a pipeline for our youth. I think it's particularly important that we're having this conversation, first of all, that we're having it in Frederick, because we know about the incredible growth that Frederick and the city and the county are experiencing, and especially the growth in families with young children and with young people and young workers. But I also want to mention something that's important for everyone to bear in mind about Maryland's economy, which is that even though we've experienced growth and rebound, and actually we have record low unemployment, one of the lowest rates in the entire country, we also have an important phenomenon, which is that a lot of workers have not returned to our labor force. And that's true here in Frederick as well as across the state. And if we look at it more closely, a lot of those workers are in the 16 to 24 range, or the mid 20s as well. So there are a lot of questions there about why those individuals have not returned to the labor force. We're also seeing lags in women returning to the labor force. So that gets at that care infrastructure piece that was mentioned earlier. So we have some sort of diagnostics to do here, and that's why it's wonderful that we have all these partners from higher education, K through 12, the Chamber of Commerce, workforce development, community partners, all of us here together to say, how do we tackle some of these challenges and grasp some of these opportunities? The great news is that I know Frederick is among the leaders in our state in thinking about how do we work with youth and think about workforce connections. In 2016, actually, Frederick was one of 2 counties selected to pilot the first youth apprenticeship program in the state. And the mayor mentioned this is one of the key pillars of focus here in this initiative. I think that demonstrates the long-standing commitment that Frederick has had to be, first and foremost in developing opportunities for young people to learn and earn at the same time. We also are in a special moment because of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, setting an ambitious goal that 45% of high schoolers will be in a registered apprenticeship or get an industry-recognized credential by the time they graduate. Also, I want to call out what's being done in Frederick County Public Schools right now, which is that the career counseling, which is also an important part of the blueprint, says that every high schooler should have the opportunity to meet with a career counselor and learn about the opportunities that they have where in their communities where they can learn and grow and work. And I do also want to say, again, leading the pack, Frederick, I think, was one of the first counties in the state to get all those career counselors hired up. So, as usual, Frederick is setting the pace and as a leader. At the Maryland Department of Labor and across at the state, we're pleased to support these efforts, of course, to work with you to support registered apprenticeship, career counseling, more adult education, and workforce programs more broadly. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the important work of our sister agencies, and I know that I saw MDOT here, I know there are others here, and in particular, I want to mention Governor Moore's vision for supporting Maryland as a state of service and the service year option. This will allow individuals between 18 and 21 who have graduated from high school the option to serve for 1 year, giving back to their communities while being paid to work. This important service year will act as a bridge to employment or additional education or work opportunities. And I think that's just one example of how we at the state are trying to bring some innovations forward and partner with all of you at the local level to provide many paths to opportunity and economic growth for all of our young people. So this is a wonderful opportunity. You know, we talked about how Frederick has been leading in terms of some of its initiatives and collaboration. Also, just the place we are in the state, economic growth, tremendous potential with biotechnology, cloud computing, cybersecurity. There's a lot of opportunity here for us to talk about today. You know, Governor Moore always says progress doesn't happen by accident. It's made to happen. And I know with the strength, the ambition, and the vision of the people in this room, we're going to be driving tremendous progress for all of us, and especially our young people. So I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Wu. We will now have a short presentation from our Director of Housing and Human Services, who will give you an overview of where we are in terms of the work that we're doing with Good Jobs, Great Cities, and what her department is doing to help us lead that effort. Raminta Patel.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I am honored to be here with the City of Frederick. As Mayor Connor mentioned earlier, I am the Director of the Department of Housing and Human Services, which is a fairly new department in the city. We are up to our 3-year anniversary, so we are very happy about that. Although it is a new department, we do have services that have existed in the community for years, including we have health services, we have food insecurity services, and of course we provide services to people who are experiencing homelessness. We are very proud of these initiatives. However, we have determined that there are a few gaps in the city that we want to be helpful in helping to fulfill. And I always say, no matter what we do in our services, not just for the city, but many of you, I see a lot of nonprofit leaders in the community, everything that we do ties back to helping somebody to become more efficient, self-sufficient. And so when you think about that, you know that employment is key. No matter what service you're providing, we have to focus on employment. So I would like to give a call to action to all the leaders in the room. We mentioned that the city is trying to be a leader in employment. We want to make sure that all of us, when we're able to, we want to provide competitive opportunities for our employees. And not just our employees, but obviously the people that are receiving services. And when you think about what we do, a lot of our employees are actually people who have also received services at some point in their lifetime, and sometimes in the moment, they are also receiving the same services. So we have to be a leader. We have to make sure that all of them are moving on the pathway for self-sufficiency. And when it comes down to the people that we're serving, they're counting on us. All of us in here clock in 40, maybe 60 hours a week. And I'm asking you all to think about that. Think about being a leader, being efficient in your time, thinking about what's really important, and remaining dedicated, not just for yourself, but even passing that message down to all of those who are really serving and supporting your mission. I am proud to be here today. I want to extend the thanks to everyone here who is committed. There is more than 70 people in the room today, but there are hundreds of nonprofits in our community who are committed to our initiatives. There are various city officials, county officials, government leaders, nonprofit businesses. A lot of people in the community are really counting on us. So I just want to continue to encourage us to stay committed, stay positive, and let's have high hopes and set really impossible goals for our community and the people that we're serving. Thank you.
We will now welcome to the stage our panel, Mayor Michael O'Connor, Secretary Portia Wu, County Executive Jessica Fitzwater, Superintendent Dr. Dyson, President Kleinhansel, and Dr. Cheek is walking right back through here right now. So there she is. We're happy to have all you on the stage here.
Well, thank you all for being here. I am feeling a little overwhelmed at the moment. I'm on a stage with such distinguished individuals, and it's really wonderful that you all have taken time to be a part of what we're doing here today. So I just want to thank you all very much. We have a couple of microphones, so I'll try and give some prompting ahead of time as to where the microphones, in whose hands it should land. So we're going to start with you, County Executive. If you could talk to us a little about how county government collaborates with municipalities to support workforce development initiatives and the key priorities that Frederick County has in this regard and the other partners that are engaged in workforce development initiatives.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Fitzwater, and I have the honor of serving as the Frederick County Executive. And we're really pleased to be here as a partner in this effort and in this academy. The first thing I want to say is we work really closely with the City of Frederick and all of our municipalities on making sure that we're making life better for people here in Frederick County and that we are a team. And the mayor and I, we were just meeting yesterday. We meet quite regularly to talk about how we can continue our partnership and engage with the other incredible partners in our community. So in Frederick County, one of the things that we did early on in my administration is recognize the incredible work of our Office of Economic Development and our Workforce Services Office, and the new branding of those two departments as the Division of Economic Opportunity. Because as we are attracting businesses to our community, continuing to bring good jobs, we know that that workforce development, that pipeline of workers is really the currency that businesses are looking for, and it's also the key to unlocking economic success for our residents. And so with that, we have continued to build on the great work that had been happening and looking to build more partnerships. We have a lot of work being done in conjunction with Richard and the city's Office of Economic Development, including our summer jobs program, the bio boot camps that we've been doing with our manufacturing, biotech, and life science industries, and also our joint work with our Workforce Development Board that includes partners in higher education, in the nonprofit sector, the private sector, and our other government partners. We are also a partner in some of the work that the city's already talked about today. The youth center that has been a priority for quite some time for the city is actually going to be located in a building that's currently owned by the county. And so we are in the process of kind of dotting our final I's and crossing our final T's to give that space to the city to work with the Osherman Foundation on and their continued development of what that youth center really can do for that targeted age group of 14 to 24 that's been talked about today. Also, during the presentation earlier on, we talked about the need to fill those infrastructure jobs. And we have been hearing loudly and clearly from our industries in the trades the deep need for the labor market to increase in those areas. We have set up meetings with our labor partners, FCPS and FCC, to talk about apprenticeship opportunities, how we can continue to build those career pathways. Our workforce services team is actually doing a listening tour right now with industry-specific focus groups, and one of those is focusing on the trades, and we envision a workforce summit in the near future that is going to specifically focus on the trades because we know that there are so many opportunities in our quickly growing community for jobs in those industries. So there's a lot of partnership happening. Secretary Wu already mentioned that we are very proud to be the first county that filled all of our career coaches positions. The training that they did this summer was a amazing effort that was truly a collaborative effort with our workforce services team and with FCPS, and we were so proud to start the school year off strong with those opportunities for our middle schoolers and our high schoolers. So I know you'll be asking us other questions and we can share more partnerships, but I hope everyone can really see that the partnerships are strong here and that we all know that we are going to be able to make progress for our community when we work together.
Thank you, County Executive. Secretary Wu, how can the state government support local communities like Frederick in efforts to upskill and reskill the workforce to meet the demands of the rapidly changing job market?
Thank you. So I think the state has a couple really important roles to play here. One of them, of course, is trying to bring resources to support all of your work. And we're very grateful to the Federal Department of Labor. Earlier this year, this summer, Maryland was awarded over $6 million in a grant to support apprenticeship, including apprenticeship in the public sector, because that is one of the things we realize, just to support our own infrastructure to do this work in county and local government and to, keep our schools and public buildings up and running. All of this is important. So we're, of course, delighted to continue to support not only through federal funds, but also our work more broadly with Maryland's apprenticeship program. I'd say Earn Maryland is also another important factor here. Our industry-driven grants bringing together employers, providers, and others to support growth jobs in the community. And I think you'll continue to see a lot of emphasis on this from Governor Moore and from our administration. We understand sort of this confluence of opportunity, economic growth, and equity is really important. So we'll continue to, first of all, pursue other kinds of federal funds, work with our sister agencies to leverage funds, right? There's a lot of infrastructure money, other things, to make sure that that is being connected to the work all of you are doing and supporting it to help bring our young people into those opportunities.
Thank you very much. President Cheek, we know community colleges play a pivotal role in workforce development. Talk about your vision for Frederick Community College and how they collaborate with local industries and employers to provide that relevant training and education.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Nice to see you, Secretary Rue, and to all my colleagues here in Frederick. I'm glad you started with the vision piece, because that's a little bit where I wanted to go, because when I was originally invited, and I'm so grateful to be here, and I started working with the team, I said, well, let's talk about the partnerships, let's talk about the collaborations, all the great things we've been doing. It was overwhelming, right? There was this huge laundry list of all the things that we've been doing for years and years and years to really advance change and progress for individuals and families in the community. And so, that made me curious a little bit more. So, talking to colleagues just across the country about the work that they're doing in their communities and collaboration. We've collaborated with probably everybody on this stage and even many across the state. And yet, what kept me up at night, literally, was when I was going over the Alice report. And so when I see that, more than a third of families in Frederick County are struggling with basic needs, when I see nearly 70% of young people, children, growing up in mother-led households that are struggling with basic needs. Nearly all of children growing up in rental housing are struggling with basic needs. And I juxtapose that with, we've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time. It doesn't equal to me. It's not work. We're doing a lot of good people with a lot of good intentions, but the impact isn't yet where we need it to be. And so I begin to zoom out a little bit more. And so when I think about my vision for the role that FCC will be able to play in continuing to elevate and increase the impact or enhance the impact of the workforce development efforts here, we're all in. We're going to be there. We're going to do whatever we need to do. We're going to bring our full selves and bring all the talent that we have to the table to support this work. And at the same time, I am hopeful that there is also space and opportunity. And of course, when you said resources, Secretary Rue, resources, but different kinds of resources, intellectual resources, because we need the money. And we also need to bring about a different kind of mindset, because the things that we're seeing are symptoms. They are not the sources of the problems, that they're the symptoms. So we address the symptoms, we never address the source. And the sources are shaped, right? These structures and policies and practices are shaped and informed by mindsets and ideas and beliefs about how we should design the systems and structures, that we are all, there's an interplay, an exchange that's happening where children are still not benefiting. The community is still not moving forward fast enough for enough people in order for us to leave no opportunity. We're leaving opportunity on the table is kind of what I'm saying here. And so I love this vision for this children's center, right, this youth center, so we can re-engage youth. But we've got to zoom out as a community and say, how did they get disengaged in the first place? Right? It's the systems they're perfectly designed to get the results that they're getting. They're not broken. They were designed to produce a certain end, and that's what we're getting. So we've got to address the systems, and there are organizations and entities nationally that specialize in helping business, industry, organizations, and cities and communities like ours change and kind of rewire our brains a little bit to see and define the problems differently so that we can begin to surface new ways of advancing. Harvard, Stanford, Cornell, they've got them. They've been doing this work, design thinking and systems thinking for a while. And so if we can tap into some of those kinds of resources in parallel to doing the good jobs to great cities work, I think that this city and our children and our families will be well served for it. So those are my thoughts about that.
Thank you. One of those systems is the K-12 education system. And Superintendent Dyson, talk to us a little bit about how you see that system preparing the workforce for the demands that they're going to face, including what I'll call behavioral skills. Some have called those soft skills over the years, but that suggests that they're not important. But those behavioral skills are critically important.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I think some of what Dr. Cheek is talking about really is about how we reimagine pre-K to 12 experience. And we have a legislation to help us do that. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future helps us to really think about how we prepare our children at very early grade levels to identify their interests and their skills and sort of ignite passion in them as they go along. We have to be career and college ready by 10th grade according to the blueprint. So we can't start in middle school to get ready for that. We have to start in pre-K. We give enrollment, and then we give a pathway to either college or career and let our families know how we do that. So we certainly hope in Frederick County Public Schools that every child graduates with a plan. It's either a plan for a career, a plan for college, a plan for the military, but a plan to thrive as a citizen in Frederick County and in the country at large. And so some of the ways we do that is by the soft skills. We start that at we call them learning skills. It's about collaboration, teamwork, teaching them how to problem solve, teaching them how to communicate effectively. And we do that through our many different classes that help them get at their interests, learn about our culture, our world. There's a big agricultural environment here, and so how do we teach the value of that along with some of our green efforts so that we get our children ready for the 21st and 22nd centuries. Another way we do that, you've already heard it, is about through our career coaches. I'm so excited about this work because it brings the alignment that I've been talking about as a superintendent from pre-K and beyond. So our job is pre-K to 12, but they need to be ready for FCC, Hood, the Mount, or wherever they like to go, or to be ready for the industry. And so the career coaches will help us do that. So once we ignite their interest at an elementary level, in middle school and in high school, these coaches are going to help refine those skills by introducing them to our business partners. And so two of our partners are right here, Frederick County Government and FCC in this endeavor. And we were there at their first training. It's amazing the work that they are preparing to do. And so we look forward to the field trips to different industries so that we can hone the crafts of our children, having lunches with some of the industry leaders to really think and hear deeply about where their interests lie so that we can not only get them CCR ready by 10th grade, but so that when they're juniors and seniors, we can really get them into that industry while they're earning high school credit. They can also be earning work credit and be ready when they graduate from college. And we've seen some of that happen. Finally, I'll just talk about our wonderful CTC program, Career Technology Center. There are so many programs offered there getting our children ready, and we rely on some of the very people in this room to teach our students, whether it's carpentry or automotive or nursing or physical therapy. And we cannot do that without the business partners that exist in this county. And they are helping our students to hone their skills and develop their skills where they could decide, I'm going to go into this field as an apprentice, or I'm going to go and study as a journeyman, or I'm going to go to college and deepen my knowledge in this area. But the point is that they're going to have access and opportunity to do that. And those are some of the ways that we're able to do it. But we cannot do it alone. Our partnership with all of you in this room is essential in helping them be college and career ready.
Thank you. Frederick Health is the largest non-governmental employer in Frederick County. President Kleinhansel, talk to us about the workforce challenges that Frederick Health is facing.
Happy to do so. Did I do that? Yeah, happy to do so. It's good to be here with all my colleagues. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. This is a subject we talk about every day. Let me kind of paint the context for you, what we're dealing with. First of all, as an employer, we are the largest non-governmental employer in this county. We have upwards of 4,000 employees at this point. We have another 400 or 500 physicians and physician assistants and NPs that work for us, another 300 or 400 volunteers, associated with our organizations. We have a large footprint. We put $250 million a year into salary and benefits in this community. Transportation matters, housing matters, all these things. Having a great school system matters. Great secondary education organizations matter. So we're working collaboratively with all those. But the challenge is real. Before COVID, I used to always say, and I'll still say, that having the right people to do the right jobs we need in the future is job one. And nothing has exacerbated that more than COVID in our industry. You can't pick up a paper or hear a story without hearing about the impact that the last 3 or 4 years has had on our industry. So we've had droves of people in healthcare that have left healthcare. There's a study recently that upwards of 600,000 nurses may leave the workforce in the next 3 to 4 years. We had 100,000 nurses leave the workforce in the last year. So we had 78,000 students that applied for nursing school and didn't get accepted. So you have people that want to go, and why aren't they getting in? Because we don't have the faculty. And so we had programs that restricted their access to the educational programs. These are things we got to square. We got to face these realities. We got to deal with it. Nothing's more important than having the right people to do these jobs going forward. We care for folks all across this community. We're in 25 locations. We just opened a new location in Brunswick. Thank you for stopping by. Our footprint in a growing county is going to have to increase. And I'm sure, as the Secretary knows, healthcare as an employer in the state of Maryland is a huge employer. And we have to double down on keeping people local. One of the challenges I think we have is kind of keeping kids that come out of all these wonderful schools local. And how do we get that as a metric on the radar to see how many kids coming out of FCC actually stay locally? And it's not just their responsibility to do it, it's ours to hire them and give them good jobs and keep them here. And that's those are all challenges. Salary, salaries are a huge issue. You can't watch TV today without seeing some new group go on strike, right? It was Kaiser Permanente across the country went on strike last week. Right here in our environment down in Montgomery County, there's healthcare workers striking. That's salaries is a part of that issue. Staffing ratios is part of that issue. All these things relate to a work environment that's balanced, it's manageable, people feel rewarded for what they're doing. We've put $20 million into salaries just in the last year and a half or so. We've hired 1,600 new employees in the last year and a half. So these are real challenges about rebuilding our workforce coming out of COVID. You had people that were burnt out. We have mental health issues. These are things that are affecting our workforce that we got to stay on top of. And we have to be attractive to all types of workers. I love the notion of apprentice-type programs. We've got some of those starting in biomedical engineering and in our engineering department. You can't find trades right now. Painters and construction-related things, boiler mechanics. Those are just as important to us as physicians in this community because of what we do. Respiratory therapists, pharmacy, I could go on and on and on, but we have to have pipelines for all of those things, and those are the challenges we're seeing is how do you develop them, how do you put them in place, and there's generational differences these days too. You know, one of the challenges is how do you get to be attractive to these 14 to 24-year-olds? It's a very different thing than, you know, retaining a nurse that's been with us for 25 years. You know, those are all very different things. So that's a little bit about what we're facing. You know, it hasn't gotten any easier, but we are getting ahead of it. Just to kind of give you perspective, we had 400 vacancies when we started last year. We have about 200 today. So we're making progress. Now we got to keep people here, rebuilding our workforce in a post-COVID world. So our current challenge right here, right now, is retention. So, you know, how do you rebuild that culture in a post-COVID world where you have strong leaders that are doing great things with employees to make them feel listened to? You know, paying benefits is important, but that only gets them in the door. Then you got to keep them, right? As an employer, you know, that's job one right now, is making sure we have the middle management, the leadership team, and the supervisors aligned with where we're heading so that we can you know, retain the great staff that we have and let them feel like they're part of the solution on anything we're dealing with. So a little bit of the flavor of what we're dealing with.
Thank you for that. County Executive, I want to change gears a little bit and ask you about the role that local government needs to play in supporting initiatives related to equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, why that's important.
Well, it's incredibly important, and it actually gets to a little bit of what Tom just said, but if for all of us, if we are going to be an employer of choice, if we're going to attract and retain folks in our workforce, people have to feel like that is a place for them. They need to have that sense of belonging, that this is a place where they can envision a career, where they can envision making an impact and feeling valued in what they bring to the table. And so to that end, I think county government has a large role to play, both internally as a major employer in the county and also externally with our partners. I was very glad to hear Dr. Cheek bring up the Alice report earlier, because that keeps me up at night also. And it was already mentioned earlier, just the impact that affordable and reliable childcare is having on the workforce. When you look at the Alice report and the number of our households that are single parent households, primarily single mother households, that are Alice, that are unable to meet that survival budget, you couple that with the statistics that Secretary Wu shared about who is not coming back to the labor market, and we can see that that is a huge challenge. I am so proud to say that the county has invested a significant amount of our ARPA funding into a child care market study that our Office of Children and Families has been doing for months and months now, and with the goal of really collecting reliable data, doing the analysis, and then coming up with local solutions. And the next step of that is actually some community input sessions that are for providers, for employers, and also for families, to share some of the findings thus far, and also to help have a voice in sharing what they think some of those solutions look like. I really think that that is a key piece of this puzzle, and that county government, local government has a role in that. Also, through our Office of Economic Development, we have over the past several years started and developed and continued to grow an Empower program that provides business training to small minority and women-owned businesses, developing business plans, networking opportunities, and helping to see their businesses grow. And through that Empower program, also creating a DEI toolkit for employers to use to evaluate their own workplace culture and things that they can do to help build that culture of belonging. But we also look internally and recognize that as an employer ourselves, that we also still have a lot of work to do. Our workforce does not reflect the diversity of our community, and I think probably most of us up here could probably say that as well. And I know when I came into this office, I knew that there was a culture where some of our employees did not feel like Frederick County government was an inclusive and place where they did feel like they really belonged. And so we are doing that hard work, working with our Division of Human Resources and our Office of Equity and Inclusion to start the work of trying to dig a little deeper, ask tough questions, and look at also systems that we have that have kind of gotten us to where we are, whether that is our, process of how do we write job descriptions, what are our expected qualifications, what does that application process look like, what does the onboarding process look like. Those are all key pieces to the county government being able to recruit and retain the people that we need to provide services that everyone in this community relies upon each and every day. So those are a few examples. And one thing I want to make sure I don't forget to mention is Dr. Dyson brought up the incredible work of our Career and Technology Center. And it's something that many of us hear over and over again, and I know Council President Brad Young is here in his time on the Board of Education, and now in his current role, he hears this too. The programs are phenomenal, but we are out of space, physical space. We are out of resources to expand programs, and it is a growing need. We hear it from our partners in the Building Industry Association and many of our other key community areas, and so we have actually made that a priority for the county in our capital ask to the state this year to fund a feasibility study for what a new vision for our Career and Technology Education and Center will look like, because we know there are so many untapped opportunities to work with the private sector, to coordinate more with our other high schools, to continue our work with the community college. So I'm very excited about that, and I think there are a lot of opportunities to come there as well.
Secretary Wu, access to technology is critical in this conversation. What is the state doing in terms of addressing that digital divide and the potential barriers to workforce opportunities?
Thank you, Mayor. This is something I'm super passionate about because I actually came to the state. I was with Microsoft. I was with a technology company for 5 years before I came here, which actually sort of makes everyone in my family laugh because I'm the person who can't program a VCR, if you remember one of those. I never learned to do that. But right, like every job now is a technology job. So it doesn't matter if you're in healthcare or in public service or in housing. I mean, we all need to be able to access and use and understand technology tools, and that's why addressing the divide now as things like generative AI and other tools are coming faster and faster is more important than ever, because if people don't catch that wave, they are going to be stranded. So some of the important things that the state is doing, first of all, the basis of connectivity. So there's the Affordable Connectivity Program that provides subsidies to families and households for affordable internet. Maryland has another discount on top of that, an internet discount, so that's really important. We also, thankfully, because of the funding from the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, Maryland has over $260 million that are flowing to communities and counties around the country, around the state, to make sure that we're providing that access. But that's only the first step, right? That's sort of like the open the door. You got to help people walk through it. So it's not just making sure people have access to the internet. It's making sure they have affordable devices, and then really supporting use of those devices, right? So it's that basic digital literacy, and that's where really important things like career and technical education, adult education, and I want to call out, there are a couple of my colleagues here in the room, Erin and Chanel, where are you from the state here? Oh, there you are. We're all working to try to bring all these programs together, right? Whether that's in your local American Job Center, at your library, wherever it is, we need to make sure that individuals have access to those tools and training so they can understand how to apply, now a job, a job application to, for a retail job or in fast food may be online. So people need to be able to access those tools and skills.
Thank you for that. President Cheek, community colleges sit in a unique space in between private industry, the K-12 education, and four-year colleges. Talk about how you work in an environment like that to create seamless transitions for your students.
We work hard. As I mentioned before, when you define those entities, we weren't designed to work together. So it is work to try to bring well-intentioned, good-hearted people together to enact, systemic change for individuals and families over generations. And so, yes, our positioning in the middle, I think, is a good place for us to be, because we can, reach along both sides. But I think it also is a constant challenge for us, because we need to be thinking with the end in mind. We tend to come to these conversations with, this is my piece and your piece and your piece and your piece. And we try to force fit things together sometimes, and we can make things work. And at the same time, we do boutique programs and initiatives and partnerships that work for some students. We need to be able to find holistic solutions and innovations that work for all students. So there's no one size fits all. And so we have to kind of always be, I think, building our capacity to bring partners into these conversations where we're thinking about what is it that we want to accomplish together, and then begin the work of, so how do we reverse engineer and design a new system that really works for the students and families and all the various diverse learners that we aim to seek and serve. And that's hard, because we're chewing gum and walking at the same time, or flying the plane and, trying to build it at the same time, whatever the metaphor is. But it's challenging for us to do that. But I do believe that we have to take time to try to build our capacity to get better at that. So I think we're in a great position. I think this opportunity is tremendous. And I'm hoping that this isn't a one and done kind of dialogue and conversation that we have. We come together and we get really excited. And I'm saying it because I do it myself. We get excited, and then we go off and we do something else. And we're like, what happened? Whatever happened to that thing that we said we were going to do? And how are we holding ourselves accountable for some real results? Give me some numbers. How many people are we going to impact? And how are we going to measure progress along the way? And what are the equity goals that we want to achieve? And what are we going to do if it's not working? Where's the room for us to pivot and change? And so, I don't know if that's the role for a community college to play. I think it's a role for all of us to play as we try to design these solutions. And I'm just going to keep pressing that attacking these problems with the same mindset that we used to create them, right? It's not going to fix it. That was Albert Einstein, y'all. That wasn't me. It's not. And I don't want us to lose, our organization cannot lose sight of, especially as an institution of higher education, we have to drink our own Kool-Aid in terms of knowledge and wisdom, and constantly building our brains and minds' capacity to think and do differently versus, same ice cream, different flavor, right? We've got to be able to tackle these challenges a little bit differently and in more nuanced ways. So I think that's what we do when we should be coming to the tables. We should be always challenging all of our partners across the continuum and within the ecosystem, the educational and workforce development ecosystem that we operate in, to bring something new, different, and innovative to the table. And it has to start with our own self-awareness of, we've created this, and so how do we, undo it and make meaningful change? So,
thank you. Dr. Dyson, you've spoken about this a little bit already, but the relationship between K-12 education and the private sector and employers, and building programs that make students ready to either enter the workforce, primarily in what I'm asking you about now, but also because we've always understood that getting them ready for post-secondary education was sort of understood. But talk about the employment piece.
Thank you for saying that. I think there's two sides of that, and I think Dr. Cheek and some others here have already talked about it. So I'm going to kind of go back at this question backwards and then come forward to what you're asking. So one is the quote that Dr. Cheek talked about: the system produces what it's designed to produce. Traditional education has been accepted for a long time, right? And so the profile of our children, and every space I'm in, I try to say it, we're the fastest growing county in the state and the fastest growing school system. And that means that we have different folks coming into the community, different children coming with different profiles. So I'm grateful for the legislation like ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, and Blueprint. What Blueprint does is shifts that traditional view of education to transform and acknowledge that in order to give a sense of belonging to children, you have to acknowledge who they are and where they are and what they aspire to be. And so that's where this conversation comes in, because not every child wants to go to college, nor should they be made to go to college, but every child wants to be successful at something. And that's the mind shift. So part of my job as superintendent was reimagining our human resource efforts so that we hire people who have that openness, that transformative mindset, that every child is not a traditional child. And even if they have a disability, it's an ability, and they can be successful after high school. And so our job is to figure out what that is. And so now to get to your question, thinking about it from that lens, then we have to think about how we use the career coaches to expand our capacity as a school system in the needs of the workforce. And so I am hopeful about the work and the training that they're doing, the partnership that exists to expand our capacity, but also to talk to more businesses so that we can prepare our children for different opportunities. When I came up, we looked in the paper to see what was the highest grossing job, right? And then that's where you decided, that's gonna be my major in college. Even if it didn't make me happy, I'm gonna do it because it's the highest grossing job right now. My youngest is 26 and they were still doing it when he graduated from high school. And so now I think we have to think about what are the new things in the workforce development. My daughter's a traveling nurse and she's not gonna leave it because she loves it, and she went 3 different ways to get to that point. And so how do we help our children through these career coaches, through teachers who have an open mind and are agile and flexible as to how they approach pedagogy, to really acknowledge the student, the 21st century student, that we're preparing for the next century. And so those are just some of the ways I'm hopeful that we can leverage these opportunities to exploit new business opportunities, new ventures, new knowledge and skills that our children, we can back map in curriculum for our children, and just still in that moment remain open and agile to what works and what doesn't work, and make sure that our children, there's impact for our children.
President Kleinhansel, you're one of those workplaces that needs that workforce to come. And you've spoken about this a little bit already, the diversity of people that a healthcare system, it's not just doctors, it's not just nurses, it's such a broad employment need. What are your strategies for building those pipelines across all of those different needs that a healthcare system has?
We're using that word pipeline regularly, and that we have to relate at a different level to multiple constituencies out there, going right to high school and even before. We've had very active conversations with my HR crew in the back there. Thank you all for being here, doing a heck of a job, about getting to students earlier in their lives and affording them opportunities to learn about healthcare professions in general. We put in place a workforce development specialist to help us build those bridges between us as an employer and the educational systems in our county. And we're creating, I love the way Dr. Dyson talked about it, creating opportunities for non-traditional avenues to get into employment that aren't just going to post-secondary school. And we have to do that. We have to do that as a healthcare employer. You know, our largest contingent of workforce is nursing, so we're always going to be working on scholarships there. We're working on scholarships for other types of positions as well. Here's an interesting thing about scholarships. We set aside $100,000 last year to give to FCC students and to Hood students that are going to nursing school in exchange, $5,000 each, we're going to do 20 of them, to come back and work for us for a year. Guess how many takers we got on that? 5. I think it's 5, Chris. Am I saying that? It's 5. My VP of HR is right there. People don't want to commit, so we're having to relate in different ways to millennials we've never had to relate before. You got to have more direct conversation and have learning opportunities within your organization to have the experience and experience our culture to stay. So We're doing a lot with apprenticeships. I mentioned a couple already. We have a goal of having 20 apprenticeship, intern, externship opportunities in play in our organization in a year. We're also rethinking the way that we use tuition reimbursement. We've traditionally used it as an employer towards going back to get additional college level credit or an advanced degree. We've broadened the definition to allow current employees to use it as certifications, to just advance skills in different ways, because it's not all about just the post-secondary education. So there's plenty of things that people can do to advance and bring them up. We also have a goal this year to take 20 people that are already working for us and move them up in the organization into broader leadership roles. That begins to get at some of the diversity and equity and inclusion that we need to keep working on to provide promotional opportunities for people that come in more on the front lines. So, you know, as this community changes, we need to change with it. So we've got a variety of things in play. Boy, I can give you a long list of different things we're working on in terms of nurses, lab techs, surge techs, respiratory therapists, and scholarship opportunities and all those, you know, around it. But we are doubling down, I know, with the high school and the FCC and others in a very positive way, Hood and, you know, Mount St. Mary's, in ways that we can be attractive to their students to use our organization as a site for training, and then how do we keep them in Frederick afterwards. So, you know, we have challenges up and down that continuum from a physician and PA and NP perspective. You know, there's solutions that go well beyond this room about having a medical malpractice climate that's favorable in Maryland, so doctors want to come here. Physician reimbursement that's low in Maryland compared to 48 other states. You know, just there's a variety of things that we need to keep advocating for that long-term play into having the people we need here to provide care for our communities. So that's a flavor of the things we're doing.
So the next couple of questions, we're going to try and go a little more rapid fire if we can. And I'll start down here with President Klein-Hansel. In your opinion, the single most pressing workforce development challenge, and how collaboration, like we're talking about, can address it?
Well, nursing's our largest contingent of our workforce. I think that's kind of job one, making sure we have nurses at the bedside where and when we need them. And that collaboration, I can tell you, is underway and has started, I think, with my colleagues up on this stage in many cases. And, you know, we got to continue to expand that. We need to fill slots, as I mentioned, at Hood and at FCC and otherwise where they are open. Expand those programs. We need more. We have to provide those rotations at the hospital in order to allow for that education to occur. But a lot of those roots, I think, are being laid, foundations already been laid. We need to continue to expand what we're doing.
Dr. Dyson.
I would say for us, CTE, we need the expansion. We have students on the waiting list for the different programs, and so the opportunity to expand and get more students in those programs, we just need the space to do so.
Dr. Cheek?
You know what I'm going to say. The systems are not working optimally. And the more we continue to try to kind of force fit the pieces, we will definitely help and serve some, but we will not holistically, systematically serve all, which I believe is where we need to be. It's a both and challenge. It's an adaptive challenge as much as it is a technical challenge. And there are some things that we need to begin doing differently to begin surfacing what I consider to be some truly innovative ways and approaches to address some of the challenges more holistically, because the gaps continue to persist. We continue to leave far too many students behind, and the more that persists, the more this community is not going to be able to achieve, I think, all the great things that it is truly capable of achieving. So I think some of the systems need to be addressed.
The single most pressing workforce development challenge and how collaboration can help address it, County Executive.
So it's a bucket, it's not one, but I think that what people in here have been talking about is the workforce adjacent challenges, but really we're talking about the basic needs. And so the childcare, the affordable housing, the transportation, and those are key areas where government needs to be a player. And we can have wonderful jobs here in this community, but if you can't afford to live here, or you can't get to your job, or you don't have someone to watch your children while you work, then it doesn't matter if it's the ideal job you've always dreamed of, or you have the exact right credentials or education for that position. Those are incredibly difficult barriers. And so I think for all of us to challenge us to really integrate that Alice report data into our thinking and into our planning. And I will say at the top of that bucket, I think for me is the housing challenges. And I was just talking with some of my internal team recently about how much we hear about and talk about the housing challenges. We know it has to become a top priority for the county to help to solve these problems. And yet when we look at what percentage of the county's budget is going towards housing initiatives, it's not enough. And I think that we could probably say the same for all levels of government. We rely a lot on state and federal partnerships when we're trying to develop workforce housing. So just continuing those conversations at all levels of government and doing everything we can at the county level to be a strong partner and really convener and pusher on making sure that the housing piece is a really big part of the conversation.
So I know this is a good panel conversation because, I'm starting to think, gosh, not just what could I do more, but what should I be doing different? And I want to riff off what Dr. Cheek said. First of all, thank you. I was remiss in saying that FCC is one of our big partners in our apprenticeship grant. So thank you for that. But I want to build off what you said, which is that we need to stop having systems that are based on screening people out and have them flip around and bring people in. Like, why do we have, and it's all the way from K through 12, why do we have magnet programs that say, oh, all these kids, these 2,000 kids want to get, higher level, deeper education on math and science. Let's take 100. Well, actually, if 2,000 kids want to do it, I think maybe we should find a way to get those 2,000 kids those technical skills and coursework they want. Why do we have a system that focuses on enrollment, but not outcomes, and in many cases strands, people coming into community college and remedial education so they are never going to complete? Why do we have, and we're working on this at the state, but there's more we need to do. Why do we have degree requirements or other certification requirements, but yet no ability to help individuals attain those, or really don't have a great systematic way of thinking, what does this job really require? Why do we have all these things and these boxes that need to be checked? So that's what I'm thinking about. Those are some of our challenges.
Keep the microphone, and for each of you, what's something that's working now? Maybe you've talked about it already, or maybe it's something that you want to talk about. Maybe people don't know about it. What's working now that we can build on?
I think I want to take Earn Maryland as an example of where the state can provide some infrastructure, and that's totally a credit to the hard work of people at the Department of Labor and many other departments across the state and at the county and local level, right? Where you're bringing together a bunch of industry leaders who are saying, this is what I need. And then people are doing the hard work to sit down and say, okay, how do we work with community partners to not only provide the training connection to jobs, but also the supports, right? It's really bringing all of those pieces together in one room to help the whole, because we're all whole individuals, right? Individuals go to work, not bots, or not yet anyway. But right, it's pulling all those things together. And speaking of bots, as we confront the changes that are going to come to our workforce, we're going to have to do that times 10. Right? Like being really agile and meeting all those other needs that the county executive was talking about as we think about how to tackle workforce.
Well, I think what's working now is, we're the fastest growing county for a reason. So people want to come live here because they see job opportunities. They see a potential for a balance in their life of having access to high quality education and a good job and urban centers, but also recreation and an appreciation for arts and culture and history, there is a lot that Frederick County has to offer. And I think that's working. But what's not working is that there are too many families who are here or who are coming that cannot reach those opportunities right now. And so we have to, as we see the county and the city making lists for, being the happiest community, being, an arts community, some of the things that we've seen, to remember that until that is actually accessible and achievable for everyone who lives here, we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back too hard. And I think the other thing that's working is in this moment right now, as the county is growing so fast, we have leaders. I mean, many of them are here. Many of them are out here. We have leaders that want to work together and ask hard questions and challenge some of these systems. And so we just absolutely have to grasp that moment and not squander any of this time and keep holding ourselves accountable. There is not a one solution to this, but I do think we're in a moment where we really have the will and the leadership that people want to start tackling some of these.
I would echo with county executive. That's exactly where I was going, the relationships. The fact that, I can sit on the stage with folks and there's no new faces here. I know Secretary Wu and I, the things that you said were music to my ears, so I've got to get you in my favorite list in my cell phone. But, right, these are folks, when you can pick up your cell phone and because you call and you text and hey, I got something, I'm thinking about something. Every community doesn't have that. Right? Where you really do have leaders who care, who are open, who are willing to allow you to ask the crazy, way off the radar kinds of questions and even entertain and have conversation and dialogue about what is possible. I think therein lies the seeds of something beautiful and really special that is so part of what this community is and continues to be about. And so I would say that's the secret sauce of Frederick. And I'm so hopeful, I'm so honored to be a part of it at this time and this moment in history for Frederick. And I'm just hopeful that we can, use that and leverage that to the benefit of those that we have all been called to serve.
So instead of saying ditto, I'm going to try to find a different way to say what they said. I would say two things. I would say there is collective ownership for the challenges that we face, whether it's, Alice being at the United Way presentation for Western Maryland and talking about the challenges that we face there. We're talking about it together. And it's not one person organization is bigger than the other. It's how do we engage together. And the other thing is that there's collective reciprocal learning. So when I think about, as Dr. Cheek said, unpacking some of the systems, some of the structures, some of the institutional knowledge that exists in the community, everybody's learning from each other. When I think about our CTE program, we have an advisory committee for each area of expertise that includes not just the school system, but the business owners and the local experts to really guide our curriculum. There are college professors there on that committee to help us learn about how best to teach. So that collective owning of the problem and the collective learning about ways we can solve the problem, I think is the sauce in Frederick County, no matter how big it gets. This is something we all own and we all have an interest in trying to address.
Ditto. No. I've had the pleasure of living in Frederick almost 20 years now, and I'll try to say it slightly differently as well. Where do you want to live? I mean, you want to live where there's great schools, where there's great post-high school education, where there's a great healthcare system, where there's job opportunity, where you can afford to live. I'm proud of what we're doing with the Alice report in our organization. We're way past $15 minimum wage now, but we got there 2 years earlier than the state wanted us to. We're way past that now. We need to keep investing in all the things my colleagues said. And where I'm going with that is that I agree with my colleagues that are relatively new to Frederick, but very quick studies, because one of the things I love best is we can define a problem in Frederick and fix it, because we can get our arms around it, because the people in this community want to do it, and they work that way. We're big, but we're not that big. And we're accountable locally, and when we put our heads together, we can solve problems. And I think that works well in Frederick, and maybe in my attempt to say it slightly differently, that's how I'd characterize it. So we get things done, and that was never more true, let me tell you, as a guy that runs the health system as it was during COVID, because every one of these organizations helped us in some way, shape, or form, thank you, that are up here today. The city, the county, the school systems, everything. And so that's working well. I think that helps us face any challenge kind of going forward. In terms of the healthcare system, what's working well right now, as I mentioned before, recruitment's actually working. Thanks to the hard work of our HR department and our front-end users. And we're getting ahead of rebuilding our workforce, but we got to keep people here now. So this gets to culture, engagement, leadership, boots on the ground, the blocking and tackling of being a great employer. Listen to your employees, pay attention to them, give them a voice at the table, all those sort of things. That's our big pivot. That's where we're trying to go right now, is drive down turnover even farther, get retention back up where it ought to be. We've always been a leader in this state relative to recruitment and retention. We need to get back there. So that's right where we're pushing now. So thank you.
So it's demonstrable in all of your answers, so I hope my final structured question doesn't seem repetitive. But what excites you?
Wow, I could go 1,000 ways with that one. I'm an Ohio State guy. The Buckeyes excite me. About this. No. Well, let me, it was an open-ended question. Now, with all kidding aside, just the mere fact we're talking about this, I think excites me. I said it earlier, there's no greater challenge to our future in this community than people to do the jobs we need them to do. So the more we can work, collaborate, do all these things, these words you're hearing up here, the more we do this is how good things get done. And we understand each other better, we understand our needs better. It excites me that we're going to be able to continue this conversation. And I hope we have some outcomes that we look at as success outcomes and metrics out of this that show us that we're making progress. So that's both my excitement and my suggestion for a challenge.
Favorite quote, and it just simply says, when the spirit of people is strong, focused, and vibrant, wonderful things happen. And so that's what I feel, that's what I sense here. These opportunities are priceless to have the conversation and to know you're not alone. So I'm excited that we're having the conversation, and I hope we stay strong and focused so that we can make things happen.
I had to think of a quote because you gave a quote. One of my favorite quotes, my team knows it. What inspires me is this notion that under the right conditions, all students can learn, and it's our job to create the right conditions. So when things aren't working, the conditions aren't right. We got to revisit and reevaluate and assess and analyze what is it about the conditions that are not conducive to the optimal learning experience and environment for students, irrespective of their age, ability status, gender identity, socioeconomic status. There is room for all at the table, and what excites me is I believe that the residents of Frederick County believe that. I believe they want that, they can see that vision, and they are willing to roll up their sleeves and do the good work of making sure that happens, and we'll lose sleep until that kind of thing happens. So I think that's really what excites me about this county and this community.
So what excites me is the partnerships that already exist. Our Office of Economic Development is co-located with our Chamber of Commerce, with our Frederick Incubator, with partners in higher education. We're the envy of a lot of other counties because we have these relationships. Our Office of Workforce Services is located at the Monroe Center with Frederick Community College, where we have built in our system so many relationships already. We have an incredible partnership with the Mental Health Association. We're about to open our 24/7, mental health health crisis care center. All of these things are possible because people are willing to work together. And so while we've talked about a lot of big challenges today, we are so set up to reach these challenges together, to look for opportunities and to find solutions that we're all sitting here dreaming about right now, because we have a community that has invested in those relationships, and we have leaders that continue that trajectory. And I think that is very exciting and something to celebrate.
Thank you. Governor Moore has a bunch of values that we talk about as important for driving our work, not just the what, but the how. And one of them that is in my mind today as I'm hearing this conversation is data-driven, heart-led, right? So you've got a bunch of experts here who know their numbers, who know their programs, who know everything. But what's really so powerful to me is the passion and the heart that people are bringing to this work. So I feel super energized and excited to be part of that.
Well, I am super energized by having an opportunity to listen to all of you on this panel today and share your thoughts about this with those who are in attendance. The unique role that we have in local government to convene people, I think, is really important. And I have to say, it's a little bit like, you know, when you throw a party and you wonder, is anybody going to show up? And it's kind of crazy. We ask people to come to things, and here they are, here you are, and we are so grateful for you to take time out of your busy schedules, and I know how busy it is to allot some time to this, but it shows how important this is to our community. So I just want to say thank you. Can we say thank you to our panel?